Good evening and welcome to the Institut français de Bulgarie. Looking at the room this evening, ambassador, representative of European and Bulgarian institutions, journalists, researchers, representative of civil society, students, I am struck by how fitting this audience is for the question we are about to explore. Few topics demand this diversity of perspective as much as the one before us. We are proud to host this evening together with the Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany this evening. This conversation is Franco-German, is not incidental. The defense of informed public debate is precisely the kind of concern our two countries believe cannot be tackled alone. Tonight's events concludes the regional project strengthening democratic media in the Black Sea region, led with Agence France-Presse and supported by the French Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs. Over the past months, it has trained Bulgarian journalists and students in fact-checking and brought this conversation into the public square, as we are doing now. It also belongs to our cycle, Europe, Landmarks and Values in a Disordered World, running since February. And tonight, we arrive at one of its sharpest questions: what happens to political communication and to public debate itself when artificial intelligence enters the picture? Bulgaria voted 2 days ago, and that context will naturally echo in the room. But our purpose tonight is not to comment on any specific election here or elsewhere. It's to step back and look at the deeper shift AI is producing in how information circulates, how citizens are addressed, and how democracies talk to themselves. On this, allow me to borrow a thought from a thinker this city can rightly claim as its own, Tsvetan Todorov, born here in Sofia before Paris made him one of the great voices of European humanism, spent his final years warning us that the gravest threats to democracy no longer come from outside, but from within, from what he called its intimate enemies. One of them he described with striking clarity: populisme, he wrote, repose habituellement sur la manipulation médiatique la plus outrancière, sous le seul coup de l'émotion, et donc en dehors de toute rationalité. It rests on the most blatant media manipulation, driving decisions through emotion alone, outside any exercise of reason. That was in 2012, before generative AI existed. One can only imagine what he would write today, now that this manipulation can be produced at infinite scale in every language, and with a face and a voice to match. To explore what this means concretely, we have an exceptional panel. Maya Dimitrova, investigative journalist at Bulgarian National Television, whose new documentary on AI and political propaganda opens our evening. Rosen Bosef and Isabelle Wirth from Agence France-Presse, who will walk us through the verification tools of the trade. Dr Johannes Hillje, political communication consultant in Berlin and Brussels, who will bring a European lens on the mechanics of populist communication. Nikola Tulechki, data scientist and co-founder of Data for Good Bulgaria, whose work on coordinated influence network could hardly be more relevant tonight. And Mimi Shishkova-Petrova, who will moderate and whose own work making civic question accessible is very much in the spirit of this house. We will begin with Maya Dimitrova's documentary. My hope is simple, that you leave tonight not only with answers, but with the right questions to carry home. Excellente soirée à toutes et à tous, et encore merci d'être ici à l'Institut français de Bulgarie.
Hello, everyone. So after this very interesting documentary by our colleague Maya, Rosanne and I from AFP, the news agency, we will present what we can do related to this problem, or may concern, because even if we laugh about it, it's serious. Yeah. So just a few words about AFP, who we are, just to remind that we are the oldest news agency, and we did start because it's about technology also. We did, so our ancestor, Charles Havas, did send the first story article using a carrier pigeon. And after the Second World War, AFP was founded under a specific law, and this is also interesting for our discussion later, which gives us a special statute. It's very unique in the world, making us independent from any politic, economic power. And we are, I have some, yeah. And we are now one of the leading and biggest news agencies in the world. You see the figures. We cover everywhere where news breaks in 151 countries. And yeah, and we are also doing fact-checking since we did start fact-checking in 2017. We are able to fact-check in 26 languages, including Bulgarian, with my colleague Rosen. So about AI, this is also a big challenge in the news industry. So we try to have strict rules about the way we use AI in our daily work. Like we have also AI already in our smartphone. We can use eventually AI tool to help us to translate something, or to text to speech. A speech-to-text tool, for instance, of course, but we have strict rules. We never publish any content to our customers, the media subscribing to our services. And if, you will see with Rosen's example, if we happen to cover a story, like for a fact-checking article, based on AI disinfo, we label the image or the video as AI content. Because we are so big, we are able to be in 8 of the 14 EDMO hubs against disinformation. This is a EU co-funded network. And a group of projects, including Broad. For maybe some of you already visited our website. If not, please visit it, because you will learn about techniques and analysis about the Bulgarian and Romanian situation regarding disinformation and also information integrity. What I wanted also to mention is to remind that about the AI tool, the chatbot are also a real issue. These are the figures from a survey. Even if we use also as a journalist, sometimes chatbots, we spend more time in general to double-check what the chatbot has produced than to write by ourselves or to search by ourselves. So, because of belonging to, thanks to the Edmo network, we are able to monitor in real time, so to say, month after month. You can see the curve here. The growing amount of AI disinfo flooding the internet, and these are the numbers of the fact checks in the community, so in all European countries, about AI. So it's a huge number. You see only for EFP last year, you see the number of fact checks done by our Rosen and the colleagues because of AI. It gives us work, so to say. And here are some examples before I pass the word to Rosen. You see that it's not only about Bulgarian social media, it's all we can see the same similar videos, similar fake images being translated from a language to the other. There is no border for that. So you can see some example, and I don't know if you can see the one of the soldier. It's really realistic, really realistic. So, before I forgot something. What is important in our solution, so to say, to tackle this or to address this situation is to be able to so to say, highlight or underline authenticity and checked information. Information integrity, for instance, in the photo can be helped by this system we are testing. It's a kind of watermarking and certification that we hope will not be removed by the platforms. So you know, when you take a photo with your smartphone, there are metadata with the pixels. The name of your mobile, so the model, the date, the location, if you have set up the geolocation. And if you post it on Instagram or on other platform, the metadata, which helps to prove that this is an authentic photo, for instance, are removed. So we are working on a way to have watermarking and verification connected to the verification tool, which helps in the future to find a way to promote authentic content. So now, Jose.
Good evening, and thanks for having us. So I just wanted to share. It's a survey among my colleagues within the AFP network, fellow fact checkers. So what they shared actually, that fact checkers said that checking whether content may have been generated by AI is becoming a routine. And other thing is that sometimes we spend time with genuine photos, thinking that they're AI generated. So we are at that extent flooded with AI generated content that we start doubting in genuine images. And I think it's an issue with an issue for everyone. So how we do when we came across an AI image? So we basically start with visual analysis of the image. We search for visual inconsistencies. We use our common sense, and of course, we use AI detection tools, as they're often essential for technical evidence. But in most of the cases, the trust depends mainly on the high scores we get, and I'm going to show you that. Consistency across several tools, so we check the image with different tools, and then we need some proven track record of reliability, because there are tools that are not reliable anymore. At the same time, what our colleagues share is that, that the tools that we are using today, they have their current limits. And actually, the AI-generated content may soon become impossible to detect with the human eye. So, and it's a photo that you most probably notice in Maya's movie. So it's an AI-generated image, and it was shared by this website, but not only it was shared on Telegram, it was shared on Facebook, and at some point it became viral. As you may see, it's showing the Russian ambassador in Bulgaria, within the claim that she's warmly greeted in central Sofia as a proof that Bulgaria actually loves her. As I just mentioned, it was widely shared on Facebook and amplified through Telegram and other social networks. And actually, many users, because what we do, we go through the comments, we go through the text of the posts. Actually, there were people believing that the image is real evidence of public support. So what we have here is, of course, striking image that conveys its message instantly. It was shared widely. A closer look reveals multiple signs that it was generated by AI. But most probably, most of the people are seeing it on their phones, and they're not examining it closely. And very often, when someone spotted such an image, then he shares his experience in the bar in the evening. He said, "No, I saw this photo of Mitrofanova, and people on Vitushka was cheering her." And yeah, so that's, in this case, we decided it's a harmful disinformation. So to tackle this one, so we analyzed the church that appears to be Alexander Nevsky, but it's not. But for someone who is not living in Sofia, maybe it's not that obvious. We can see a person wearing one white shoe and one black shoe in the background, which is not approved because, and yeah, the monument that does not exist. But in this case, what I used was the Invit We Verify. It's a plugin. It's free, and it's designed for journalists, fact checkers, and researchers. But I've recommended it to many of my friends because I got bored being asked if one video or image are real or not. So I'm insisting my friends are installing it and using it on everyday basis. So it was developed by IFP Media Lab and partners, and it acts actually as Swiss Army knife for verifying images, videos, social media content, and it could do like reverse image search, video keyframe analysis, and forensic tools. And it's free. There are some supplementary tools. You just need to register. That's all. Regarding tackling AI content, there are like 5 tools that you may use. In the case with the Russian ambassador, we used a tool called CheckGIF because the image that was shared on social media it was with really low resolution, so the classic AI detection tools were not working well. So we use this CheckGIF, and it uses a model that aligns 2 images on the same grid based on visual similarity. And what we see here is this distortion. You see usually in AI modified images, because here. Here actually a real photo of Russian ambassador was used, and it was, thank you, and it was used to change her face expression, and to put the background. So using check GIF, actually you could look for this distortion. Apart from that, what we have in WeVerify is this is the AI detection tool. So it uses multiple detection models, and that's the confidence of the detection. Basically, almost everything above 70% is considered as a synthetically generated image. We also have forensic tools that could detect tampering or altering of an image. We have tool that allows you to investigate deepfake videos, mainly on face swapping. We have here, it detects synthetic audio, and so on and so forth. But in most of the cases, we start with our own analysis, visual analysis, and some common sense, and then we try to combine with tools. But to be honest, it's becoming more and more difficult to tackle such content. That's it from me. Thank you.
So since we started with the movie, Maya, my first question goes out to you. We see that the technological gap is closing our ability to recognize AI content. Do you think that regular people that are not tech savvy can learn how to recognize it, or will it soon become completely impossible?
I think it's becoming more and more difficult. And actually, I believe that already only critical thinking is the way ordinary people without this knowledge of instruments which are mostly paid nowadays, they could use. That is the sad truth, and that's where our efforts should be put in time.
My next question goes to Johannes Hillje. You are a political communicator and you have been advising parties all across Europe. The aim of political communication has always been to reach the right people at the right time with the right message. But AI is changing the scale at which we can reach the audience with the right message, and it's making it impossible to be matched by human effort. This raises the question, is AI and technology changing the line between propaganda and political communication in an ethical way? And is this red line between ethical political communication moving?
I think it has already been moved, this ethical line. It has been moved by, not by technology as such, but by the developers of technology. Like the makers of the platform, and of users of technology, like specific certain politicians, a lot of populists like US President Trump, also Viktor Orban, also many other far-right and populist parties across Europe, and also actually across the whole West, I would say. So I think this line has already been pushed, this red line, as you called it. But I think if we want to kind of look for the cause of this shift, then we really have to look at the infrastructure, which means the platforms that are not only enabling this shift, this ethical shifts, I would say they are even encouraging these shifts, because people spreading and producing propaganda, they get rewarded by attention, right? By reach, by engagement of the audience. Propaganda plays on emotions. It doesn't matter if it's a fact or if it's fake. If it plays on emotions, people are reacting.
Yeah, we saw even our members in the audience here had a really good time looking at the AI images.
Yeah,
I heard a few people laugh.
We were reacting to it. And a reaction on a digital platform means that we are, I don't know, we're giving a like, we're sharing it because we find it funny. But these are all this is all sending signals to the algorithm, and the algorithm are then spreading it to a bigger audience. So I think the fundamental problem lies really within the design of the platform, within the design of the digital infrastructure. And then we have political forces with sometimes bad intention who are using this infrastructure for their purposes.
So just to follow up quickly, can we say that it's a matter of responsibility? Humans are able to bear the responsibility, while when it's AI, it's difficult to pinpoint who is responsible for blurring the red line.
I mean, it's really hard to make individuals responsible. I mean, on the audience side, I would say, because as we just heard, the fact that something looks real is not a proof or evidence that it is real, because we cannot make the difference anymore between a fake and a real image, for example. So I think if we speak about responsibility, we cannot really put all responsibility on the side of the individual users. So of course, users need to be educated in critical thinking, but there are also limits to that, because even you as a journalist, you are saying that you cannot sometimes say if something is real or fake, and also probably your tools will have some limits, because the faking technology is always a little bit ahead. So I think we need to put the responsibility much more on the infrastructure, on the platforms. Actually, they should integrate the technology that you are using and offer it to any user of their platforms. With an easy click, you should be able to verify if an image is fake or if it's real. But I think we cannot put all the responsibility on individual users.
Yes, of course.
I think we should put the responsibility also on the people creating that kind of content, especially the politicians. In Bulgaria, we have already crossed that line when in a television studio, one of the political parties have brought a picture which was AI generated, which was, they knew it was AI generated and it was not true, and they posed with it as if it was real, and they were telling the people that it was real content, which is why society should put a line with these populist tactics.
Maya, do you imagine a different type of responsibility than the regular type of responsibility politicians fall under, for example, when they spread false claims, or when they are criminally responsible for defamation?
Yes, but we as a society should not take this kind of behavior so lightly. And evidently we are not doing it right now.
So we should be generally less tolerant of synthetic content, no matter whether it's coming from an anonymous...
Unethical and with disinformation in it, because of course memes could be very funny. We have seen in the last couple of months a lot of memes with the current members of the cabinet, which were just funny. It's nothing wrong with that.
Regarding the example you just mentioned with the AI-generated photo that was presented on air by a politician, I think voters show their opinion on such practices. So I think they got less than 1% on the elections of this.
Thank you. Nikola, you work with coordinated information systems, and you analyze patterns, timings, and you try to uncover networks of influence. Have you noticed coordinated efforts? Now we just came out of an election. So my question to you is, first, can you describe what a modern AI-assisted influence network actually looks like from the outside, when you are just encountering it and when you are about to start trying to detect it?
Well, it looks much like a non-AI-assisted coordinated influence network, a bunch of channels, different cross-platforms, so it can be a lot of websites, channels on all the platforms, which communicate in a coordinated manner. What does it mean? It means that they send the same kind of messages, they use the same kind of graphical styles and content. They serve the same purpose, so the content, the intent is kind of the same, and this is it's subjective. When you analyze it, it's subjective. When you put AI into the mix, what happens? It becomes more productive because it takes less time and less effort to produce this. It also becomes a bit less detectable because AI can help blur those patterns that make it detectable. For example, you can instruct AI not to post at the same time, which is difficult. If you don't have a tool, you have a guy there. The guy will want to finish his job and go get a beer. If you have AI that's working all day and all night, it can post all the time. Also, the graphical stuff can be different. So you can instruct it to blur the fingerprint and the pattern. Also, it can produce much more different and varied content. So you give it one piece of information, so one piece of like a text, and you can instruct it to produce a slightly different variant on all the channels. So AI makes it less detectable and more performant.
So basically use your intuition then?
Yes, mostly. Use your intuition, and then you also use, it kind of accumulates, and if the first time you encounter such a group of channels, you're in doubt after maybe a week or two when you monitor, you kind of understand what's going on. And there are a lot of people who are doing this. There are specialized channels that are tracking them. There are wikis like Viginum and UDisinfo. I mean, there is a lot of activity trying to track and map these networks. So it's at one point it's difficult to hide. Also, let's not forget that the main objective of the people who are doing this kind of activity is to be seen and to attract attention. So they attract attention. They're not hidden. They're not underground.
So all the criteria that you listed are something that comes in either with professionalism when you work that, or with experience. Mm-hmm. Does this mean that people who spend less time online are more vulnerable to AI manipulation?
Well, that is media literacy in a nutshell. Now, I think we live in an information environment. I had a quote from Sensika's last report that Bulgarian voters are in such a information environment right now that it's practically indistinguishable from the synthetic from organic activity on social media. So you make your choice in a completely blurred information environment. So it's very difficult to understand what you're looking at and if the activity that you're witnessing is organic or synthetic. And it doesn't mean it's not only the content, it's why you're seeing it, what was the process that brought this particular meme at this particular time to your particular device. It's not only the meme, it's the whole ecosystem behind it is very much synthetic and very much inorganic.
Johannes, do you think that there needs to be a new ethical framework for AI, especially in political communication, because this is your specialty?
I mean, ethics is a question, first of all, for society. So what is acceptable and what not? And I think you are totally right. Voters should actually punish politicians and political forces who try to manipulate them. But on the other hand, it's not that easy because when we talk about populism, for example, and the play on emotions, it's not so much that actually voters believe 100% of what a politician is saying. They also feel emotionally attracted by them, for example, by a sense of community, like radical right-wing forces promoting national pride, for example. That is giving to some people a sense of community, which is very emotional, and they are just feeling better after consuming a piece of content. So it's not always a rational decision and rational behavior that is behind human decisions. So I think ethics, yes, we need to have a discussion within society, what we find acceptable and what not. And I think then it has to be, of course, enshrined into law, and this law has to be enforced. I mean, what we saw in France with the AI of X, from the platform X, from Elon Musk, is that they basically try to stop, or not stop, but they wanted to go after X because with Grok you can undress people with this AI tool, you know, and this is illegal. So this is not a matter of, it's not a moral question. This is already, this question has already been answered by our law, that this is not acceptable. So it's really a question of law enforcement, national law, European law, in a global digital environment. And this is, for me, the most, or one of the most important elements where the European Union, the European states have to become better in really implementing the laws that we already have, because many things that are that can be done online at the moment are illegal in the offline world. And so yes, it's a matter of enforcing and using our laws.
Yeah, we don't have the reciprocity yet, and we always seem to live in the illusion that the online world differs from the real world. But actually, if we imagine that the same things happen in the real world, they would have immediate reaction from the institutions, at least where they work. Isabel, my next question goes to you. Broad produced a detailed anticipatory threat assessment ahead of Bulgaria's elections that took place a couple of days ago. And it mapped how pro-Kremlin narratives were spreading from French outlets into mainstream discourse. Bulgaria has now very few legislative and non-legislative measures against disinformation. The recent developments come mainly on a EU level, the Digital Services Act, for example. So there is a monitoring infrastructure such as Broad, but there is no legislative framework to capture and enforce. How useful is observation and detection when there is no way to enforce it?
Thanks for the question. It's a bit difficult because I think we are in the process of having it. As part of the DSA, so the Digital Service Act, the EU has already tried to produce an AI Act. And what happened to Grok and to other, and to Musk in general, to Meta also in Europe is, so you may have read that Musk was not showing up at the Paris trial, but there is a trial still, and so this is backed up by the EU. Also by, as Johannes said, every state must have must implement, must face this, must address this trouble. Like in France, we have the, we are lucky enough to have had in the past governments who did react after several really real tragedies, like attacks on journalists, like the Paris attack. Also, more recently, a teacher has been killed not because of AI, but because of her disinfo, online disinfo. So we have a lot of media literacy in the curriculum in France, which is not the case in every European country. So this is eventually something that could be done in the future. I hope there will be at some stage like something like literacy act, or I don't know, something like harmonizing this process in all Europe. And also the legal systems. So this is about the responsibility that was your previous question. I think there is a hope in this direction. So and all together, it will be helping every government to face responsibility, and hopefully voters will see what happens. Because I'm a bit. I have a bit another opinion to my colleagues here. I think that the vulnerability and the responsibility must be also a bit on the users. I mean, users, consumers in the real world, they know the difference between I don't know, real restaurant, fast food, between I don't know, behaviors that are legal and illegal behaviors. Most of the people, they know this common sense Rosen was mentioning. If everyone takes time before sharing, before liking, take time to think, okay, if I do that, if I'm just watching, if I'm playing, if I'm watching this meme, this funny cat jumping unrealistically, what I am doing? Am I paying someone? I am giving my money, my data to someone. So I think this responsibility is everyone's matter. But
I would like to counter you here with a comparison. I feel that AI now is similar to consumer protection cases. For example, when we have toys for children, children cannot determine whether there are poisonous chemicals in the toys. And in the same way, many people, especially Bulgaria, has one of the lowest media literacy levels in Europe. Users are not aware of the long-lasting psychological, and I don't mean in the sense of mental health, but in the sense of predispositions that it creates. I have a very radical view, but maybe I will share it at the end. So do you think that maybe we should go this route where the user, because the user is in disadvantageous position, there is this black box mechanism of the algorithms.
Of course, and it's funny because when I do some media literacy workshop, I use my smartphone and I share what I am seeing on the real feed on Instagram, and currently I see a lot of pictures of cats doing fitness. I have a cat, I'm doing fitness. So, yeah. And it's not my first interest, so it's really becoming hard to educate the algorithm. That's true. Even if you know how to do, it's really hard. In the past, we could have fact checkers having several accounts, one to monitor far right, left, so far left or leftist, or so it's hard now to do it because the algorithm seems to be more powerful than ever. So of course we are a bit harmful. The thing is, what we were a bit talking together before the presentations did start with Johannes, is that while talking to children or to also elderly people or vulnerable groups in the society, for instance, we see that there may be at some stage people who don't like anymore to be flooded by images. So they prefer to go back to the real world. So maybe it will be a chance.
Yeah, of course. You are all invited to contribute at any point.
Or the alternative to this is a potential for better platforms, right? For platform alternatives. Because the experience that I made just some weeks ago, I was doing a workshop with students in Germany in a school. And a few years ago, I wrote a book called Platform Europe, and it's about a European platform as a alternative, ethical alternative, democratic alternative to platforms that we're using currently. And in this workshop, the students were tasked to design such a platform. So they could kind of wish for everything they want to have on a social media platform. And they started with a very interesting comment for me. They said, we want a platform where we can share again our own stories and our own pictures, because the platforms that we are using, for example, Instagram, it has become so difficult to create content that is really reaching an audience, because it became so professional with all these influencers, and you have to know how to use filters and blah, blah, blah. So the barrier, the hurdles have become so high to actually create content that they are mainly consuming. And the kind of phrase they came up in the end for this workshop was bringing back the social into social media. And I found this really interesting. And so I'm not so sure if people will go back to the to the offline world, because they have been, as digital natives, grown up with devices. But maybe we're coming really closer to a real potential and room or opportunities for better and alternative platforms. And I really would like Europe to develop these platforms. And I see too less initiatives so far, actually.
People have been also calling for AI-free platforms now, because there's this phenomenon called AI fatigue, where people don't want to see AI content in any form anymore. They react really strongly. They recognize it in written, video, or photographic form. People who spend more time online. Do you think that it's time to separate, to have the two-tier internet, AI-free and the Wild West of the internet?
I think it's like it's the same as people's preferences to the food they consume. Like some people eat meat, some people don't eat meat. It's personal preference. This cannot be regulated. But I want to come back to the previous question, very much like the analogy with that people should be treated as children with regard to this technology. It's spot on, because the technology is very powerful, and there is absolutely no way to not to address the risk at the technology level. I mean, without, even now with what is currently available, without what is called alignment, this means the secondary process of teaching the AI what it should do and what it shouldn't do, there is absolutely nothing stopping the AI from generating pornography, for example. It has enough training data, believe me. Nothing stops it from explaining to somebody how to create explosives, for example. And even there have been experiments. It can even create explosives out of common household stuff that you can buy in any hardware store, and it hasn't been described anywhere. So it understands chemistry, it knows what's in the different stuff in the hardware store, and it shows you how to create explosives. Same with poisons, by the way. It's really, really powerful. And the other thing is that it becomes much more integrated. And so it's not only about creating content and creating like text or images. It can use tools now, so it can go on a website, it can fill a form, it can find somebody's phone number.
It can also pass AI tests.
It can pass AI tests. Today, I was doing something today. I was telling it to go fetch something on a website. There was a captcha, it solved the captcha. I didn't tell it to solve the captcha. It was like, yeah, I'm just proving that I'm human. I was like, yeah, okay, go there. You aced that, no? no issue, but it can call people. It can send messages, so it can manipulate. And it becomes much more, very, very powerful. And the only way to stop this is at the editor, the company that produces the AI. So now they're going the auto-regulation path. So the big ones are trying to not release dangerous products, but it cannot stop there. There should be very powerful regulation from states, and here the European Union. Honestly, I feel very lucky personally that I'm not living in somewhere where we are at the bleeding edge of progress and we are not regulating this stuff. I mean, I'm happy that it's going to come like a year later here, when it has been testing it somewhere else.
It reminds me to a story that because AFP, we have a disinformation correspondent who is based in Washington, and he's covering this whole thing. And recently we published a story about a tool that was monetizing, and it was selling actually humanizing AI generated text, and it was a scam. actually. What they did, my colleagues, they checked the tool by sending literature from like classical literature from Hungarian and other authors, and the tool was said that it's AI generated, and if you pay me like €2, I can humanize it. So we are on really next level now.
So there is no going back. There is no disintegration from AI. So I think we should go back as humans in terms of education. We should work with children to show them what is our values, because with AI this is what we are losing, in fact, with time. That's why we are here where we are now, in political context also.
Does it contradict our values to foster competition? Because the EU has always been criticized for over-regulating everything and stopping innovation. Can we reach a balance? Because AI is a cutting-edge technology now. Everyone's using AI for everything. It's everywhere in business. Are we going to fall back, to stay behind?
Why should you be at the forefront of innovation? I mean, that's where it's hotter and where it's riskier. It's not that bad to be a little bit behind, and also the whole value and stifling innovation, it's a bit of propaganda. I mean, we heard J.D. Vance's speech in the Munich conference, the whole free speech, no free speech in Europe. There is a lot of propaganda there. It's not true. It's true that all the technological companies are in the United States. It's not because of the regulation, it's because of the investment and the risk-taking culture and the scale of the economy there. It has always been this way. But honestly, given I will repeat myself, but I think it's worth saying a second time. Given the speed at which the thing evolves, it's very good to look with skepticism and to think about the risks and to try to not use it without not pay attention to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we had the same debate like 40 years ago when the internet popped up. But my point was, I was listening to, it was French radio, France Inter. It was really interesting discussion among university and school professors and teachers on AI. If it's a good thing, bad thing, and actually I think it's a tool. And it depends who is using it, because they were discussing it should be forbidden to do your homework with. Then there was this teacher who said that, but actually it helps. It helps kids. It helps kids who have, for example, no parents that could help them doing their homework. It helps them to do their homework better. So are we going to say to other kids, don't ask your parents to help you with your homework? So it may also be used to tackle inequality, for example. So.
Yeah, I wanted to come back to your question if regulation is actually kind of stopping innovation. I don't think so, and I don't think that regulation is not good enough in Europe, but what we are regulating is basically US American or Chinese technology. And the point is that we need European technology. And this is not so much a question of regulation, it's more a question of creating an environment for startups, for example. I mean, we don't have a European Silicon Valley, right? I mean, we have some cities and some places which are which have a IT industry, but we don't have such a huge and vast area where innovations are produced, I don't know, every year and are exported in a global scale. So when it comes to, I think it's good to be a leader in technology, and Europe should become a leader in technology, because if something is created in Europe, it should be already developed and created by European standards, and then regulation maybe has not to do as much as we have to regulate, for example, Chinese products or Chinese platforms. So
it might actually really become a seal of quality.
yeah, I mean, that's what we, I mean, I'm German, so I have to speak about cars, because German cars is what we have been famous for in the past. Not so much anymore, because we also are losing a little bit the leadership role here, because we are not so good at the moment in like making this transformation towards e-mobility in Germany. But we used to be famous for cars, and I think Europe should have the ambition actually to be famous for technology, because this is certainly one of the biggest future markets.
Okay, so I think we solved that one. I want to talk about the Lego propaganda, because the propaganda is at the center of our discussion. I don't know whether the audience has seen Iran's Lego propaganda. These are short films taking Lego characters and the Lego aesthetic and telling the story to Westerners from their point of view as they think that the world needs to hear it. And my question is for Rosen. What does this asymmetry reveal about how authoritarian states exploit our openness? This is the openness that is denied to Iranian citizens, and we have the same case with China. China is very restrictive in what types of information, content, and cultural material can be freely spreaded online. What does this tell us? What can we do?
Well, in my humble opinion, where it's a case of propaganda. I mean, it's a classical example, but it's easy to consume, to understand, and you come across common objects and subjects. But the pattern is not surprising, and it reminds me of something that we witnessed related to the war in Ukraine. It was a series of fabricated videos presented as TV reports, actual TV reports, apparently originating from French media outlets. So it was like journalistic investigations on Zelensky's wealth. So it had a TV presenter who said, "I'm just in front here in Courchevel, in front of this 5-star hotel that Zelensky bought with the military aid he received from Europe." And it was a series of reports like that, so it was obvious that it was not French. For the French audience, it was pretty obvious. He was speaking with French accent, AI-generated voice. It was really nonsense, but it was not produced for the French audience. It was produced to be shared with Russian subtitles that were added afterwards. And here in Bulgaria, it was replaced. The Russian subtitles were replaced or not with Bulgarian ones. So we know, because no one will trust, for example, a Russian outlet, a Russian video. But if it's in French, even with Russian subtitles, people say, "Yeah, I don't understand French, but it looks like the journalists in France, they did this investigation and they proved that Zelensky bought a hotel in Courchevel, or Hitler's limousine, or whatever."
Okay. Can I come back to the Lego propaganda, because I'm really fascinated by that, and I admire it as the art of propaganda, not the content. I don't sympathize with the Iranian regime in any way, but what they're doing now, I think we should pay very much attention to what they're doing, because it's extremely sophisticated, it's very well done, and it's a very classical case of wartime propaganda. So there is no doubt what's going on there. I mean, it's very clear what's going on. And this is the exact same activity that during, for example, World War II, they were sending planes over the enemy's capital to throw paper leaflets, right, with all the risks, all the cost, and the low impact. I mean, how much effect will you produce, even if you manage to get the leaflets on the city, right? Now what they're doing with the Lego videos, they're producing AI generated content, which is very powerful. It manages to go to penetrate the information space, to propagate in the information space, to propagate a story, to put a meme into people's heads, literally. And I want to give a particular example. There is one right now, because what they're doing is they're making videos with these Lego characters, but they're also producing songs, which are rap songs, which are very well produced. They have meaningful lyrics. They have catchy tunes, and AI actually is very good at producing catchy music. It will become, I have a prediction that in maybe a year or 2 years, there will be very little human-generated pop music. In Bulgaria, we have a case for a very popular Chalga song, which is entirely AI-generated. Few people know this, but January this year, #1 song was AI-generated. Everybody was listening to it. Anyway. And what they're doing now, they're exploiting actually TikTok's mechanism of dissociating the video from the song, from the noise, from the sound of the video, and people are chanting to the music. So now you have these videos not only with the Lego characters, but you have actual people, real world teenagers in the US who are chanting the Iranian regime's tune, which is very catchy. There is one which is extremely viral now. I will not sing it because I will never be invited to this place again. It echoes the Epstein story. I'll stop there, but it's very viral, and you have actually the enemy's population who is singing your propaganda and sharing videos online and making it viral. And this is something that everybody should pay attention, who is interested in this kind of stuff.
All these cases bring back to mind the foreign influencing operations, and the one question I have for a long time: why in Bulgaria our government services haven't investigated any of these operations, make it public? That's a question I don't have an answer, because in Europe we have many instances when such operations are researched properly by governmental services, and there is effect, I think.
I mean, Bulgaria is it's a really specific case, and actually we were living in 5 years of political instability, and when you are building such capacity, I mean, some people will trust into a government that could deal with, that have the tools and the capacity to deal with this information, but others won't. And it depends who's behind. So it's really, really tricky to build such capacity in the context of political instability.
I think we have 2 questions that we can ask here. Propaganda is not illegal, right? Propaganda. Yeah, sometimes it's becoming illegal. For example, in Russia, we have many examples of things that are illegal to say, to state, to defend. Do we regulate AI or do we regulate propaganda?
When propaganda is integrated with disinformation and it has some other purposes apart from being economical, those.
When it's political, you mean? When it's when it aims to manipulate public opinion?
Not only manipulate, but also when there are efforts from foreign actors, for example, we could treat it as some kind of treason, for example.
Like some kind of state security matter. The question is, memes, for example, are useful tools for propaganda, but they rely on plausible deniability. You could always say, oh, it's just for fun. Or the most common comment on the internet is, don't worry, it's not that deep.
There is also the infrastructure, the ecosystem of how these memes go to the public. And if you could prove that there is a larger infrastructure and it leads to certain actors, it's always, it could be a question of law.
So we are in favor of regulating then, introducing new hypotheses?
I think it's not possible. You cannot write the text that will apply only to the risky part and not like burn the whole of like free expression, humor, and everything. But you can and you should, as a government or services, should pay attention to, as Maya said, the ecosystem that's behind it, and also the monetary flows. So how are people being incentivized? Why are they doing this? And you can also regulate what is actually happening at the EU level. You can regulate the mechanism and the substructure that makes it possible and that creates harm unintentionally even. For example, monetizing, this is what fact-checking did in the beginning. It disincentivizes people who are spreading sensational lies to attract attention, to make money from ads. Because a lot of the disinformation and the harmful content was actually just people who are putting out all kind of outrageous claims to attract attention and to sell ads. So this is one of the things that fact-checking stopped. Another is to pay attention to how the platforms are built, and to insist, for example, that the platforms take action against coordinated inauthentic behavior, to have know your customer laws, like in banks. I mean, it's obvious that you cannot go in a bank and open a bank account anonymously. It should be the same thing on the platforms, and it's kind of going there. It's very hard to make a fake profile on Facebook now. You have to like do a selfie and dance and all that. It's really hard.
Yes,
it's happening.
Yeah, you asked before about the power of monitoring all this activity. I would add something to what you have said is maybe I'm still a bit dreamer, but I do think that together with the regulation, even if it's not perfect, with every European state, at least in our region, so to say, with the efforts, with the consciousness, media literacy, etc., all together, and the monitoring of, even if it sounds too late when you list, like the colleagues in Hungary have done after the election. They have published the lists they had of accounts spreading fake news during the electoral campaign. They have sent this list to the rapid response system mechanism designed by the EU. And then, I mean, we just monitor, we flag eventually, we fact check, we write stories, articles, we do documentary films to reveal that. And then, of course, that is after, but for the future, it could eventually help people to understand what's going on and to take action if they want on a political level.
Thank you very much. You did a great summary. I think all those combined efforts, media literacy, selective regulation, innovation in the EU, everything together can really bring a positive change. Of course, media literacy. I think now we should open the floor for questions by the audience. Feel free to ask. Yes, we have 2 questions.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. First of all, thank you to all of the speakers. This has been very informative. My name is Mina. I have a specific interest in EU digital policy. And it was a topic that was mentioned a few times in terms of the AI Act, the DSA, but also the aspect of European tech community and the sort of platforms that we're building here in Europe. And I guess I have a few questions. The first one is, we see in the AI Act there is a specific provision on labeling doctored images. That's under the 3rd tier. And we also see with the current digital omnibus, there is the conversation about whether online nudification should be included. I think in the end of by the beginning of the summer that should be published. But also, we see that Europe is making efforts. So we have the DSA, we have the DMA, we have the AI Act. My first question would be, what's your opinion on that? Is Europe doing enough? Where Europe should do more? My second question is, when we think about foreign relations and we see, for example, the current US administration aligning very closely with big American companies when it comes to the DSA and the DMA, there is obviously the foreign relations aspect of that. So where's the balance? What should Europe do in that regard? And yeah, I guess those are my two questions. Thank you.
Does anyone want to answer? If
I have an opinion on that. So Europe is at the forefront of addressing the risks by this technology. It's a very healthy approach, the risk-based approach. So it's not, let's not ban, it's not like with drones in France, for example. I remember they just banned everything. This is, it's different here. It's let's think about the risks and approach it on a risk-based manner. Also, we see concrete results. So let's not forget where we started from. For example, the Cambridge Analytica case and scandal was about micro-targeting. This was very dangerous, and this was before generative AI. If we have the same technology unregulated now, it will be very, very powerful if it's used for political propaganda, for any kind of influence operations. Now in Europe, we don't have political ads. None at all for during elections. Not even labeled. Just the platforms, they got scared and they said no political ads. Honestly, I think this is healthy. I think it's a better online environment without paid political ads during the campaign than with. And yes, in terms of international relations, actually, I have no idea what's going to happen. So maybe we're going to hear more runs like J.D. Vance's one. It's a small price to pay, I believe.
And Nikola, I would like to just add that platforms got scared indeed, and now we cannot do political commercials or ads online. But the responsibility is now being shifted back to local authorities, because we politicians have transferred these amounts of resources that go into political ads to consultancy companies, for example, that do marketing services, and it's very difficult to follow these funnels of funds that go actually into political ads that are not being labeled as such. So it basically became a part of a gray area. And in this sense, it's a double-edged sword. Johannes, you wanted to add something?
They can be monitored.
I wanted to answer to the question if we think that the EU is doing enough. I mean, you can always do more, but I think actually the EU regulation in terms of DSA, DMA, and also AI is sometimes better than we think. But of course, it depends a lot on the national implementation. I had a talk here in Sofia actually a few months ago and discussing with a journalist. And we both spoke about the national implementation of the DSA. I spoke about it in Germany. She spoke about the implementation in Bulgaria. I was kind of positive about how it is implemented in Germany, and she was very critical and negative because she said it can also restrict actually the freedom of the press in Bulgaria if it is wrongly implemented. So I think national implementation is something that we have to observe, and also the European Commission basically has to observe and see if the key principles are implemented of these laws. But that this, or kind of maybe a proof that this regulation is better than we think, is the reaction of the US administration, I think, because they're trying to, I mean, you mentioned J.D. Vance. He came to Munich last year to the security conference and really made clear that he doesn't want Europe to regulate the American platforms, and he meant the DSA, of course. So they are putting this on the table, and they're trying, of course, in this like political style of Donald Trump, they're trying to make a big deal with everything, and they're mixing everything. And I think it's important that Europe stays strong on this regulation and doesn't water it down and make it part of a big deal with other like trade issues and other geopolitical issues. But this has also be demanded by citizens, I think, because we can put pressure on our governments that we don't deal away the good provisions of the DSA for a better trade deal, let's say, with the US. So I think there it's very important that Europe sticks to the rules that I think are good as a first step, and of course they need to be improved as the technology is changing and also is getting more sophisticated.
Thank you. We had another question.
Just one thing. We should not forget when we talk about DSA that there's an act that it's really important. It's ENFA, and when we live in disinformation landscape, it's really important to empower reputable media outlets and journalists. So it's my personal opinion, but for example, ENFA provides safeguards on content produced by reputable outlets on social media platforms, and it's something that's really, really important, apart from other safeguards to journalists.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for your assessment of this situation. My name is Ivan Panev, and as a lawyer, I think that we could underline the place of law to solve many problems that you mentioned this evening. You make interesting comparisons with food and industrial products. Food and industrial products in the EU law are included in very hard and heavy standards. When you buy a product in EU, you have industrial product, you have a sign, CE, what means conformité européenne, and a product coming from out of the EU should answer to standards. Same for food, where you have to read the different parts of composition of the food. And the virtual world is the mirror of our real world here. And in the real world, the press couldn't say or write bullshits. You have legal criteria to fight against that. Of course, somebody could write something very false, but a legal frame could answer and impeach this kind of situation. And now, to be very practical about several problems mentioned this evening. If AI is used on a TV product or a clip or some video product, the law could oblige that to write in a corner, this product is made with the assistance of AI. As a lawyer, if I use in court a part of my defense made with AI, I am obliged to mention it. Because if I don't do that, I could be punished for this bad professional behavior. That is why we cannot let the part of the law out of the discussion. Of course, you mentioned the part of the law and the Digital Service Act of EU and the development of this new regulation. First, they have to be known, and after that, they have to be used. But training is not the only part of this way. The willingness to combat, to fight against false news, against propaganda, is exactly on the ground. And it's not new. It was the situation 1 century ago, and it continues to be the situation now. Only the difference is that we have new tools, but we have also new ways to fight against that.
So basically, this sums it up for us. We can really then say yes to regulation, and yes, Johannes.
I completely agree, and I also believe in the power of rule of law, but there's one problem. When laws have already been changed by politicians to kind of let their propaganda be legal, as we could see in Hungary. Viktor Orban changed so many laws and he started to control the media, that the law was not as powerful anymore as it used to be, you know? And I think in the end there was something even more powerful than the law in Hungary. It was the vote of the citizens. And there is a kind of funny saying from a Russian propagandist who said that politics cannot, and he meant it like from the perspective, politics from the perspective of the Russian propaganda. Politics is always in a tension between the TV and the fridge of the people. So in the TV you see the propaganda, everything is great in our country, like we are successful, we have a great economy, everyone is happy. And then you look in your fridge and it's empty because you're actually poor. And it's the fault of the people ruling your country. And if this gap is getting too big, then the propagandists have a problem. And I think this is a part of the explanation why Viktor Orban did not win again, because people were feeling that he was damaging the country's economy, that the health system was run down, the education system is not good. So they were seeing in their own reality that it's not as they tell people on TV. So there is, if the law doesn't help anymore, sometimes in the end the vote of the people and the people themselves will help.
Do we have any more? Yeah, follow up? Yes?
Yeah, and we had another question also at the back. Maybe we can take both.
Just quick reply. And
maybe
then
we can take a few questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Politics are the life of the law. The law is nothing if politics is not the life of the law. And you are right, the rule of law should be respected. 2 days ago, the European Court condemned Hungary because Hungary doesn't respect a specific EU legislation. And you mentioned Russia. Russia was expelled of the Council of Europe because they would, in a broad way, didn't respect the legislation of the Council of Europe. The law is the guarantee, but the guarantee should be used. If the lawyers, the judges, the citizens don't use these tools, the politics could be false, of course.
Thank you very much.
I would also like to thank all of you. This is quite interesting. I think one aspect that we didn't talk about, that you didn't talk about tonight, is the addiction. I think addiction is at the core of the problem, because all of this propaganda is going on social media, and I think most, I can't say most, but there are people in this room who are addicted to social media, myself included, I think. I was talking to a teenager a few days ago. He's 18 years old. He said that his screen time is around 12 to 13 hours a day. So I think, like, what is the EU doing enough? Like, are these acts trying to do something about this? And also, what are your opinions about it? Thank you.
Yeah. I can answer on that. So we're actually talking a lot about addiction here, not in this panel, but generally we're talking a lot about addiction. First, there is now we have one generation of kids who have grown up with this technology from when they were born. So we have longitudinal studies, and it's unanimous. It's very bad for kids. So there's a lot of talking all over the world about banning social media for children as a whole. I think in France they're doing it. In Australia they're doing it. Also in the DSA there are provisions against addictive design and dark patterns. There is even a case right now which is being I don't know what is the term, developed, which is
it just had a finding that yes, there are findings by the case that the algorithms are indeed addictive.
The European one or the American one?
The European.
The European one against TikTok, and this is actually why TikTok are so compliant, because the case is against addictive design, which is basically their whole business model. There is nothing else in TikTok besides a genius algorithm that gets you hooked on content. Also, in the United States, there was a landmark case against Meta and Instagram, which is part of Meta, for basically getting a kid hooked on social media. So this was escalated to their I think Supreme Court, or I'm not following it that closely. But there is a lot of legislation going on right now, so we can soon there will be actually practical consequences. I don't know how they will work, because again, this is at the core of the business model. If these technologies don't get you hooked, they won't work.
Do we have another question? I kindly remind everyone to stay within the scope of discussion, because AI is the topic that we can discuss for months and months without end. Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to go back. My name is Ivan. Thank you for being here and for the very interesting discussion. I want to go back to regulation again, because even when the intentions are very novel, sometimes it has very negative effects. TTPA, for example, the Transparency and Targeting of Political Act, I think it's called. How did the big tech companies react? They just banned and stopped all sort of social advertising. So regulation, in a way, is always a couple of steps behind technology. So how do you think we can address that? Because that is a very negative effect to civil society.
Can we address that at all? Because law has always been lagging behind technological developments, and it always takes time for the law to catch up.
At least they're trying with the AI Act with this risk-based model. So the basic gist is do a risk assessment on a per-case basis based on the technology and try to think what harm it can do. They're trying to be as reactive as possible, and it's a real problem, because now technology is evolving so fast that this lag between new technology being invented or developed and being regulated is becoming a real problem, because in 3 years a lot of things can happen. 30 years ago nothing happened in 3 years. 300 years ago literally nothing happened in 3 years. You were basically your grandfather, you had the same life. Now it's not the question.
Yeah, maybe beside the regulation, I don't have the answer directly to your question, but only this idea that maybe beside this imperfect regulation, because it's always the same story with the humanity. What is forbidden is really interesting. And there you always have even more people who will go in this direction to find, to have a... We can imagine the future of internet with a safe social media, and then like the dark web, you know. So my view now is this work on labeling AI when we notice it, and labeling authentic content will help people, users, to distinguish at some stage and to make their choice. Do they want to follow news, because we are talking about news, political news, and so do they want to come back to more classical journalism, and so with sources, real caption, answering the 5 Ws, or do they prefer to see cats jumping and so on, and politicians with funny gesturing. I mean, so the both should be promoted, and the problem, so the labeling should be promoted. The problem is the amount. We are not even able to tell the numbers about what we are talking about. We don't know how many AI pictures are sent per second on internet. We don't know. So we don't have these figures at the start of my career, when at the start of internet, and so we knew how many photos were sent per day on Flickr or Pinterest, and so no, it's impossible. So maybe if we focus on good journalism, or you were talking about music, or real music done by human and with the label, then maybe we will save a bit the situation.
We definitely need better regulation, especially at the social platforms level. As we have seen from the two TikTocracy reports, TikTok reacted to what was in the first report, but Meta haven't. Still, this unauthentic behavior is proven, but nothing follows. There are bots, there is AI algorithms used, but nothing follows. These networks are there at the moment.
Maybe we can come back to Isabel's statement earlier when she said that observation and monitoring can actually lead to a rapid response mechanism to be implemented at some point.
Thank you so much for all this debate, which is really fascinating. My question is about how I could say, the link between truth and trust. Because on this debate, there was the main issue was truth and trust. And I think one of the aspects today, and which is really, I think, problematic, is that many people today don't care so much about truth, but about trust. And what I wanted to say is that more and more you have people who say, okay, maybe it's IA, but whatever, trust, because IA speaks in the way I would like to listen, or this picture or this video answer to my preoccupation or to my vision of the world, or of the politics, or of the society, and so on and so on. So even if it's not true, because IA is truthful, generally very kind. When you have a discussion with ChatGPT all the time, he's very kind and he knows how to be polite and so. Even in the real life, it's quite rare that such politeness does exist. And I think that is also really an issue. I mean, how to connect again truth and trust. Because I think that today there's really a divorce. And it's not because you will write, for example, that this picture is 60% of artificial intelligence, that people would say, okay, so if it's the case, I don't believe, it's bad, it's not good, and so on. No, that's because they trust. And they say, even if it's not the truth, I trust it. And that is, I think, an issue, and of course I have no answer, but if you have any of your enlightenment on this issue.
I won't answer, I will add to the question. With this politician with the AI-generated photo printed on paper in a TV studio, when he got called out, he said he got called out, this is AI, it's synthetic content, this never happened. He said, it doesn't matter, it shows very well what I meant. So.
Johannes, you are the expert on political communication, and trust is a main part of your expertise, building trust. How has trust changed?
So I think truth follows trust, to connect both aspects. And that means that we need to strengthen the trust in the institutions that build up our political systems and our European Union, for example. I mean, there are reasons why foreign information manipulation their aim is not that you believe the fake news. Their main aim is to erode the trust and to somehow put people in a state where they say, I can't say anymore what is true. So, and I would say the counter strategy to that is strengthening the trust of the institution that belong to our democratic society. And this has to come from the institution itself, I think.
How can the institution achieve that? Through political communication?
Not only, of course. I mean, first of all, they have to deliver to the basic needs of the people. And I found it pretty interesting, actually, that during the COVID pandemic, that in at least not all, but many European countries, in the beginning, the trust in the governments actually was on the rise. So that was actually a proof or confirmation of trust in the established institutions. Also, at least in Germany, we saw a rise in trust in public service media because people were looking more than before for information about the pandemic, and they didn't go to obscure social media sources. They looked up information at the public broadcaster. So that was, I think, in some countries we had this good sign of trust, but that meant that they basically delivered on the, I would say, basic needs to citizens before. And if they don't deliver, then of course people also don't trust you in moments of crisis.
I would like to use the chance to ask also the fact-checkers what they think about that, because you are on the other side of the front line.
First to say is fact-checking is really limited. So we have a methodology that is transparent. So what is propaganda is one thing, disinformation in general is other thing, and fact-checkable content it's third thing. Our way to make people believe us that we are not censors or whatever is to be transparent. So everyone could be able to follow the steps we did, the tools we use. That's why I spoke about We Verify. That's the way to not to yell to people who share content, not to label them as anti-vax or Kremlin propaganda, because most of the cases someone that share the content by mistake. So it's matter of how you shape your stories and your fact checks.
Do we have time for a few more questions?
I think we should take the last two questions and wrap it up.
Do we have questions? Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Damian Diamandiev. I'm in communications, especially digital communications. I have some notes here. I would like to challenge again the regulatory part of using AI for abusive purposes, and if at some point people will be able to apply any sanctions and penalties to people who abuse artificial intelligence, for example, for disinformation, put it that way. But when we talk about penalties and sanctions, are we able to set a clear border and to distinguish freedom of speech and disinformation? Also, where is the border between art and between harmful visual content? For example, if we say that memes are a successor, for example, of caricatures, and caricatures are a form of art, and then after memes come artificial intelligence for like positive or negative visual purposes. If we say that in the end of 20th century we have that wonderful app called Paint on Windows, then comes Adobe, CorelDRAW, then other Photoshop services who people use to edit images, then to post on Instagram. Then these apps become automatic. Then we have artificial intelligence. How can we purify this, and where is the border?
I can step in because the caricature, satirical drawing, for instance, You may know that in some European countries like France, it used to be centuries ago. It used to be already a kind of debate when some satirical drawing were used for political propaganda. And the thing is, we have also cases where humorists, comedian humorists, are legally limited. And there is a debate, and judges, because when the law is well designed, judges are able to, and I do think it could apply to the memes, for instance, able to say, okay, this meme has no Nazi symbol, but the account belongs to someone who is doing some illegal stuff. So, you know, you could chase the meme itself is not enough to have the big picture. You need the big picture, and I think it's possible. I don't know, but it may be already the case in some courthouses in Europe. So I think it will be the same. We will see in the future. With the AI, also we see already the AI generated video using material belonging to other people. You were mentioning art, so there are also rules in art. So we'll see. I'm pretty confident if the laws are like one of our auditors said that if the law is well designed and well used, then we may have some good experience in. To be respected, to have,
What I wanted to ask in addition to this, are we prepared as a society to identify the very, very, very thin border between regulation and censorship?
I think this is why the courts are taking so long with such cases. Because the line may be thin, but finding the right way to draw the line is not. And I think with this we can with this unsatisfactory reply we can move on to the last question for the evening.
No, it's okay. The last question was answered by previously.
Okay. Without taking too much of your time, because it's a weekday, and I assume everyone is tired, especially after so many insights, so many valuable insights and provoking thoughts. I would like to thank all of the panelists for the really deep thoughts and experiences that you shared. This discussion, I think, will be something that people will think about for quite some time, including me. Thank you very much again. Thank you to everyone who came here and who shared, participated. It was a wonderful evening.
Thank you for the moderation.